Well, welcome everybody to the Climate Action team of Rotary Day Tolosa. Glad that you're with us. We have about 21 members, so we've got a good representation of them here at this meeting, but more people who expressed interest and want in the topics for tonight, but are looking to catch up with the recording. So thanks for being part of the recording here. We've got a bunch of things to cover. I'm going to just cover a couple accomplishments at the start, because it's always great to start with things that are working and results that are happening. And then we're going to go to the BrightAction folks, because they have about a half-hour presentation about our carbon footprint measurement technique. I know a lot of you have been very interested in that, as I have been. They've got some new tools and techniques and people to help all that work and be successful for us. So want to get into their presentation. Then we'll finish up at the end with sort of next steps about the Planet Forward program and the bioreactor activities that are planned along the way, and any other sort of announcements that people have. Does that schedule work for everybody? Is there anybody who has to split off that needs to, share with us something before we jump in? Okay.
When do you think we're going to be done, Don?
I'm really working on keeping these meetings just to 1 hour.
Okay, because I've got another meeting at 7, so I've got. But
okay, well, we won't go that far by any means.
Okay.
Okay, so on the results, it was just so exciting to see what the club accomplished with the Berries Grove. I didn't do a lick of work on that, so I don't take any credit, but I'm really impressed with what you all did in doing that and the spirit of that celebration. And just the excitement about, hey, that's going to be 260 tons of CO2 converted into living carbon in the roots of those trees. So very exciting kind of result, and something that immediately puts us on track. And we had a core group at the end of September build a bioreactor. So we did a learn by doing session, and so that bioreactor's cooking away. A little mycorrhizal fungi are in there doing their job. Can't really see them, but they're there, I'm told, and they're starting to eat their way through the material that we gave them to consume. So some good things coming along, and that actually, our efforts on that actually got covered in the Estero Bay News. It was a pretty good spread on that, with 4 photos of you all that participated in that effort being recognized, and good stuff. So and we'll be getting to some other things later, but all of these activities are starting to catapult us into a leadership position of a community organization working to make a difference on climate. And so that's very exciting. I'll share with you some new things that are happening with Cal Poly and other opportunities for us a little later in the session. Anybody else have any results they'd like to share before we jump into the BrightAction presentation? Okay, so it's great fun to have the BrightAction folks with us. I've been connecting with Lisa, oh gosh, Lisa, what has it been, 6 months or more? Maybe even closer to a year, I don't know. Because I've been very interested in how we could get a way to actually measure what our carbon footprints are, and to figure out in a tailored way. I remember, Chris, this was one of the things you were really asking about early on. Hey, we're all different, our homes and our circumstances are different. How can we really dial in what's going to make sense for each of us versus, try to have some catch-all? And that's really what the promise and the delivery is of the BrightAction app. And Lisa Altieri is the CEO of BrightAction. She came to this from a scientific background and a programming background, and she said, okay, I want to make a difference for the climate, and created this app. It's used in Palo Alto, it's used in a bunch of other communities and organizations that's used by the whole Episcopal Church throughout the United States and their parishes to come up with ways to be better stewards of their resources and their members' resources. So it's been getting traction, and they've been really working more and more on what are ways to help people quickly get up and going with this app. And so I think they made some major strides along those lines. And this might be a great opportunity to just kick it over to you, Lisa. Do you have a presentation you want me to give you a share screen for? Or? Whoops, you're on mute.
Yeah, it'd be great if you could let me share screen. I'm actually just going to use our live site for the
great.
presentation, so you get to actually see how it works.
Super.
Yeah, perfect. Well, thank you, Don, for the introduction and the invitation to come. And I know Jack is also here from Cal Poly. And he is also here offering to help and support you all in getting up and running with the program. So I just wanted to take a minute. I don't know, Jack, if you want to say hi.
Yeah, thank you. I'm doing a master's project on how increasing accessibility to climate science information and education material, science literacy, reduces carbon footprints. So BrightAction is really up my alley, and I wanted sort of just to try and be here for you all as a resource in case you might need some help setting up your profiles. But I think Lisa's going to do a really great presentation for you all to get started today.
Awesome. Thanks, Jack.
Yeah.
Great. Yeah. Well, so I have to say, Don, that your introduction was just spot on. And it's the first time anyone's ever actually pointed out the fact that this is about how it's about each individual household and how they're different. So I actually spent a few years working as a volunteer in my own community in the city of Palo Alto, trying to help the city engage residents on climate actions. And that was the thing that really stood out to me. So I have a background in data. I've done a lot of work creating and designing custom strategic data reporting and data analysis programs for companies, CEOs and CFOs in Silicon Valley. And doing that work, to me, data is incredibly important, and every household is different. So in the work that we were doing in my own community, which is the reason I actually decided to build the platform, it was just clear that, two neighbors next to each other can have a totally different carbon footprint and profile and totally different actions that make sense for them to take. And so the whole purpose for BrightAction is to really make it easy for anyone to go answer a few questions and figure out what is my household impact look like, and then also find what actions you can take. And so just before I show you the platform, I just want to give a little bit more background on it. The reason that this is so important right now is that what a lot of people don't know is 40% of our greenhouse gas emissions in the US come from 5 basic household activities that we do every day. Our electricity use, our use of home heating fuels like natural gas, our transportation, our food choices, and our waste stream. So those 5 activities on the aggregate make up 40%. Almost, it's actually a little bit more than 40%. So it's nearly half of our US emissions. It's huge. But what's even more important is that we now have affordable, accessible alternatives for all 5. This was not the case 5 or 10 years ago. It used to be either cost prohibitive or just simply just not possible to reduce your impact at the household level like it is now. And so we're in a really important moment where everyone can jump in, take some actions that can really make a difference on climate on the aggregate, but also save money. There's actually an opportunity to save, for the average household, $1,000 to $3,000 a year by taking the common actions across our action set. So this is a big win-win-win opportunity to make a difference on the climate, to save money, And then also a lot of the actions help improve our health by improving air quality. They also create local jobs, and there's a whole bunch of other benefits. So this is a really important opportunity, and particularly for Rotary. And I grew up, my father was in Rotary, so I grew up around Rotary. So I know I really have a lot of respect and appreciation for the ethic of bringing something of value into the community. And so most people in the US, what a lot of people again don't know, over 70% of people in the US are worried about climate change and want to help. Most people think it's a small percentage. Most people think, well, maybe it's 20% or 30%, but it's actually, according to Yale research, over 70% of Americans, they want to help, but they don't know what to do. And so your interest in learning about your own carbon footprint and what you can do is the absolute right place to start. But beyond that, as the Rotary Club, you have an opportunity to help people in the community to bring this like learning to the community and help inspire others to also learn about what they can do and accelerate and amplify your impact across the community. And it's actually really not hard to do. So so that's kind of a little bit of the background. This is a really important moment, and with the level of concern and the level of interest that people have in taking action, this is really the most important time to just really help people say, hey, you know what? We have solutions. There's a lot you can do. Here's how you can find out and start to get engaged. And so to me, and this is the last thing I'll say before I show you the site, because that's much more interesting than hearing me talk about it. But the last thing I'll say is that if we're going to really tackle climate change, it's an all hands on deck moment. We are not going to make it if it's not something that we all pitch in and take action on. We can't wait for policy. That's actually the main reason that I did this, is that if we wait for policy, we're in big trouble. But there are all of these things that we can all do today that make an impact, have all these positive co-benefits, and that can really move things forward now. We can all make an impact now. We don't have to wait for a policy to do these things. They're affordable and accessible today. So this is really an opportunity to get people engaged and involved and understand that we're all really part of the solution. So with that, I will share my screen and I'll show you how the site works. Any thoughts or questions before I do that?
No.
Okay, awesome, perfect. Okay, I'm gonna cut my video because otherwise sometimes it cuts into my bandwidth. So can everybody see my screen okay?
Yeah.
Okay, awesome, perfect. Okay, so this is BrightAction, which you may have seen, and it's very easy to get started. So right now we have this free version of our site, which anyone can go to. So if you have friends that aren't in the local SLO County area and they want to use it, you can just send them this link, brightaction.app, and I'll put it in the chat. Anyone in the US right now, we're about to go beyond the US into Canada and Europe and Australia, and then eventually all countries next year. So anyone can come here. You would start off by putting your state and your city. What we do is we also work with custom programs with local communities. And so we actually have a program that we're launching with the city of San Luis Obispo and the SLO Micro Community Collaborative. So we're going to have a county program. So you could also just come here if you live in anywhere in San Luis Obispo County. So for your local members, you don't need to go to BrightAction. You can just go straight to your local program and start there. And so that is, they're actually going to change the address pretty soon. I don't know what they're going to call it yet, but it's going to have a new name soon. But if you ever can't find it, all you have to do is come back here and put in your state and your city, and you'll be brought into wherever your program is. So you'll never lose it. Okay, so to get started, you just create an account. I think that some of you, so let's see if I put in California and I put in San Luis Obispo, and I hit go, then you'll get a page here where you can create an account. And so you can see what that looks like. It's a simple, straightforward create an account. And so you can see, you can choose San Luis Obispo, or if you don't live there, if you live in Pismo or San Simeon, you can put in your city. And then click create an account. And then once you have an account, this is what it will look like. You'll get a welcome message and you'll come in. And basically the site is really easy to use. There's only 3 basic things to get going. The first is a household profile, and that is the carbon calculator. So I'll come back to that in a minute. And the second one is, of course, you want to choose the actions that you want to take. So you can explore and learn and choose actions. And then the third one is inviting your friends or community. So what I recommend for you is for your team is to, for someone, it only takes one person click on here and create a group or a team, either one. Teams are meant to be small. They're meant to be like 5 to 8 households. So so you probably don't want to do that. Groups are meant to be big groups. So it could be the Rotary Club, it could be a school, it could be a faith community, it could be a senior group. Groups are meant to be big. So I would recommend one person from your group, click on create a group, and then all you have to do is put a little bit of information in. There's only a couple fields that are required to put in the name of your group. So your Rotary Club here, and then what type of group it is. You're a service group. And then you can choose to make your group private, which means people can't find you unless you give them the invite or the link to join. It's up to you. And then you just say where you're located. So you just put in California, and then put in whatever city you're considered headquartered in, whether that's San Luis or Pismo or wherever you want. And then this is all optional. You can put in a logo, you can put in a welcome message, but you don't have to. And then just click save. So once you do that, then what you get is you get a page dedicated to your community, where your Rotary Club will have this page where you can all work together. So you can see, this is actually a congregation in a faith community in Washington State, in Seattle. So you can see like the impact, the cumulative impact that you've all done. You can see everyone that's participating, and you can see there's over 100 people in this group. And you can see all the actions everyone's completed. And you can also, when people complete an action, they can post or they can chat and share. So when you create a group on our site, then you get a page for your group to stay in touch and see how it's going and watch everyone's progress. And then what you also get, actually, I realized that I'm not a leader of that community, but whoever creates the page also gets the custom link to invite everyone else. So whoever takes time to create that page, make sure to click on this and copy this link and provide that link to everyone who's joining. And if you use the link to join, all you have to do is paste it in your browser. It's really easy. Or click on it when you create your account, and then you're automatically added to this account, this group when you join. So just use that link, create your account, and you're already in the group. So that is how to create a group. So that's the community aspect of it. So the second part is your profile. So this is your household profile, and I'm going to walk through it a little bit here. This is your carbon calculator. So this is where you get to enter a little bit of information and find out where your household emissions are coming from, and what, how much you have in each category. So what our carbon calculator does is we focus in on those 5 categories of household emissions that make up 40% of US emissions. They're also the main categories that have a lot of science behind them in terms of how to calculate them and the impact. So these are really solid categories to calculate. So this is really easy to move through. So the first page is just some simple, more basic information about your household, like how many people are in your household. Does your home share walls? Is it a standalone house? If it is a standalone house, yes. Or if it's a condo or apartment where it's sharing walls in a complex, then you would say it shares walls. This is how many rooms are in your house. So rather than asking people for the square footage, which not everyone knows, we're asking how many rooms are in your house. So you're just going to count all the rooms except the bathrooms or hallways, and put that number in. So it's likely to be somewhere between 5 and 10. Some people try to put in the square footage in there and that doesn't work. We will probably be adding the ability to add in your square footage later, but it's not in there right now. And then this question about whether you rent or own is actually for us to help customize some results for you, but if you don't answer it, it's fine too if you don't want to tell us that. The second tab is, question, Brian?
Yeah, thank you, Lisa. I was curious, why does it matter if you share, your home shares walls with others in terms of energy use or what's up with that with the app? Why that question?
So on the utility tab, you have the option to give us your actual utility use info. But if you don't do that, then we do an estimate, and there's a very different energy use profile for homes, whether they're freestanding or whether they share walls. So if you, in all the energy efficiency research and literature, identifying whether it's a single or multifamily or household or standalone or shared walls household has a big determinant on the energy use profile.
Okay, thank you.
Sure. So the second tab is appliances. This is pretty straightforward. Basically what we're looking for is to know what kind of energy you're using. So if you're cooking, are you using gas or electric? Because they have very different impacts when it comes to climate. So we're asking about your stove and your oven, is it gas or electric? And then we're just asking about how often you're using it to do some estimates around your impact. And same thing for laundry. Again, it's gas or electric. Or if you don't have laundry at home, then maybe you do your laundry at a laundromat, then that's a different question. But basically we're looking for your level of use and what type of fuel you're using. So these are really pretty straightforward, easy answers, easy questions to ask. So then the other one is heating and cooling. Again, here we're asking about fuel use. What type of heater, space heater do you have? So these questions are a little bit more challenging sometimes, or if you rent or if you're in a condo complex, maybe you're not sure if your heater is gas or electric. If you don't know, you can say, I don't know for these questions, but we do give some tips on how maybe to figure it out. Most of you probably do know what kind of heater you have. So this should be pretty easy to answer. And then we also ask if you're using, small, like portable electric heaters. We want to look for that in your data, or do an estimate if you have or use air conditioning. And then also same thing, what type of fuel you're using for your water heater. And then if you do have a pool or hot tub, you have a chance to indicate that as well. So again, it's pretty straightforward. Then the next tab is a utility tab. So here, if you have solar panels, you want to let us know. If you participate in a green energy program currently, let us know. That's going to make a difference. Of course, if you have signed up for green electricity, then all of your electricity use is 100% carbon free. So we want to make sure that we know that when we're calculating your carbon footprint. Down here, you have the option, and I want to make sure that this is an option to add your energy use data. I'm actually about to put another note on here that says, right under here, it's going to say, this is optional, because people are missing my note down here that says you can skip it. They're not getting that far. So if you do not want to take the time to add your energy use data in, that is completely okay. If you just totally skip this, we'll just estimate for you. So, but if you do want to add your data, you have the option in your area. You can click and you can add in your electricity through PG&E. And I don't think, do you guys have SoCal Gas, or do you have PG&E for gas?
SoCal Gas.
Yeah, I don't think SoCal Gas is in the system, but so I think for you, it's just going to be the electricity. So it's pretty easy. This is just a data link where you can just put in your login information for your utility account, and then we can pull your data in. You just give permission for us to pull your data. And then for your gas, you would need to hand enter that. We need at least 12 months. So you just put in, 12 months of energy use, and then we would use that to do some calculations on your footprint. But again, this section is completely optional. You can totally just skip it, do absolutely nothing here, and we'll be able to do an estimate based on the answers to your other questions. It won't be as accurate as if you give us the information. Always, it will not be as accurate, but it'll be at least ballpark and close. Transportation. So this, you just want to choose all the ways you get around. So just check on all of the options that match what you do. And then you're going to answer a couple questions for each. So if you have a car, then we're going to ask you to tell us a little bit about that car. If you have 3 cars, you want to click this a couple times to give yourselves another form for each car. So this is, we're going to ask again, we want to know what kind of fuel you're using, because the impact, the carbon, or the carbon emission impact is different, whether it's gas or electricity. And then of course, about on average, how many miles you're driving the car and how fuel efficient it is. If it's an electric vehicle, we'll also ask you a couple of additional questions that should be pretty easy to answer. And then, like, for example, on air travel, we'll ask about, on average, how many miles a year do people in your household fly? And we're looking for averages on all of this. So we're not looking for you to go out and start measuring like the miles you drive every day for a month. This is average. So, I mean, for your driving miles, you just look at your odometer. How many miles? I have 100,000 miles in my car. I bought it. It had 20,000 miles when I started. I've driven 80,000 miles in 10 years. That's 8,000 miles a year. It's like, just, these are all meant to be averages. So you don't have to really think a lot about them. Just put in on average what you do in terms of flying. And then finally, the last one is food and waste. So here right now we're just asking for how many meals a week in your household people eat red meat, because red meat is really actually has double the impact of any other protein and more than 10 times any other non-animal related food. So we're asking about that. And then also we just ask about garbage. If you have dedicated bins to your house, if you have shared bins in an apartment complex, it'll be a different question down here. But then what size is your bin and how many do you have picked up weekly? So pretty straightforward. This should be really easy to do. After tonight, what I would recommend is for y'all to go and just fill it out and see how that goes. And I'll come back to that in a second. But we have a chance to get help and support from Jack. He's willing to help y'all with this if you have any questions. So just to go back to the big picture, you've got your group to connect with on the site. You've got your footprint. When you complete your questions, then you're going to be brought here to see the results. So these are the results of the calculator questions, your profile. So you'll be able to see in those 5 categories of emissions what your impact is. You'll be able to see how you compare with a localized number for the San Luis County. And then the next step, once you know what your impact is to go check out the actions. So here is our action grid. So the actions right across the top, these are the primary climate actions for a household that really make an impact on greenhouse gas emissions. The 3 main ones are clean energy home, which is how to really shift your home to be a clean energy home. And then we also have energy efficiency actions, which can reduce your energy use at your home while you're working on actually shifting to clean energy sources. So these kind of work hand in hand. Then of course we have the transportation section, and then we have food and waste. So you can explore these. What we recommend, as soon as you do your profile and you figure out what your footprint is, the next step is to go here for these categories and mark off what you've already done. So you can say, hey, I already do this. And so you can mark those off as already done. These are things you're doing, before you started to track your footprint. And then the things that you don't already do that you want to start doing, you want to choose those actions, and that'll add it to your list. so that you can track your progress and mark it done. So you can also customize your estimates. A lot of them have a question you can answer, and you can say, okay, I'm going to offset 2,000 air miles a year, and I save my answer. You'll see the numbers update, and you'll see the number of points and your savings estimate change. So our carbon calculator is really robust. So we're able to show you not only what is happening, in general with the action, but the actions are customized to your household. And you can also come here and click on recommended action, and you can put in your preferences and see what comes to the top. So if you want to know what is going to make the biggest impact for your house, and you don't rent or you rent, it should change. Oh, this is why it's not changing. I've got a filter there. If you rent, you'll see this. If you don't rent, you might see some of these heat pump and like home heating system actions come up, but you can put in what's most important to you and as a way to also filter. And then each action, if you click on it, has a page of information. So you can see here a little bit more about the action. So again, like I did with the offset action, you can change an answer. You can see your savings estimate. This is based on your local cost per kilowatt hour for your local utility. It's based on your local carbon intensity for your local utility. Points are tied to impact. So 1 point is equal to 1 pound of CO2 reduced per year, or 10 gallons of water if it's a water action. And that's for almost all the actions. If you get a point, it's because you reduced CO2 or you reduced water. And then here you can see there's an introduction for every action and a set of steps. There's between 2 and 5 steps for each action, where you can read a little bit about the steps to take. So we all know changing light bulbs is not rocket science, but there are a bunch of actions on here like heat pump water heaters, and strangely smart power strips are complicated, where you might want a little bit of information on what you can do. And then finally down here, the SLO County program is not quite up and running. So I don't know how up to date your resources are going to be, because there was a previous program previously that had some information in here, but you may find some resources at the bottom of the action pages. So if there's a rebate or a financing program or other programs that can help you, you may find some resources at the bottom of each action page. Those resources are about to get updated, and so next year there will be a lot more of them as the SLO County program kicks off. So that's a little bit of a tour of the actions. And then here on your household dashboard, you've got your starting level, you've got your actions. So when you start adding actions to your list, you can see them here, you can mark them done. You set yourself a goal of when you want to have them complete, so we can send you a friendly reminder. We promise to be friendly about it and not often. And then here you can also see, if you finish all the actions on your list, how much you can save and reduce your impact from where you started. So we track your progress. So up here you can see the progress from what you've already completed. So you can see your points and savings. You can go up in levels. We're about to add badges. But basically the bottom line is, it's simple to have a way to work together as a Rotary Club and see your progress together. It's easy to fill this out and find your find your starting place. It's easy to explore actions, and then you can track the progress of what you accomplish. And just in terms of navigation, this is really the place where everything lives. This is your home. This is the actions, and these are the different communities you could belong to. So your community is likely to be your Rotary Club. This will be SLO County, because that's where you live. And then if you choose to, you can break into small groups and create teams to work in small groups of like 5 to 8 households if you want. But you'll have your big group, your Rotary group, to track together and track progress. So I want to make sure that I don't take any more of your time here, because I think we're just about at 30 minutes. But what I would recommend, and then I'd love to hear from you all what you think. But what I'd recommend is, after tonight, just go and fill out your profile, create an account, or actually, if one person could create a group, that would be great. So you have a group, and so you're connected together. And then you can create your account and fill out that household profile and check out the results and see what you find. And then Jack and I were chatting and we thought maybe it would make sense if there's another time, like the next time you meet or a few weeks later, if you want to get back together. And then if you had any questions about the profile, the household profile, if you got stuck anywhere, Jack could help you all with questions to complete it. And then the next step is just to explore the actions and mark off the ones you've done and choose which ones you want to do. What do y'all think?
Comments, reactions from our team here.
Lisa,
Hi, Jerry.
how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Full disclosure to the group, Lisa and I have had lots of conversations because she had actually did this presentation to the RCAT network. So I'm very happy to see you continuing on. There's a couple of things that are different. So it's great to see that you no longer, I guess, need to be a specialized, have a specialized project with you. Is this now nationwide going to be available, this create a community
Oh,
feature?
it's been there. It's always been there on our free site. So on our free
you
site, sorry.
Yeah, so on your free site. So we had talked about how we could do this on a larger scale. So
Right.
I'm not sure if there's anything that's changed because I'm thinking about, we've got 10 or more Rotary clubs here and each Rotary club could be a community and we could have challenges or I don't know, something like that. So
let me show you really quickly the difference. So anyone on our free site can have a group. So any Rotary club in the US could go on our site and create a group. What we offer is we offer custom programs like we do for the Episcopal Church, where we create a page where all of your groups come together. So right now you all can have a group for your Rotary club, but you won't see the other Rotary clubs pages or their information. And so here on our programs, like for the Episcopal Church, they can see all the different dioceses, they can see all the different congregations. And so we create a page where we bring everyone, all the groups together into one program with your messaging. So you could have a Rotary Club page with all of your information. And
so is there anybody in, is the city of San Luis Obispo given the responsibility for BrightAction to any community group that sort of is doing this within San Luis Obispo, linking groups together? Not really. I mean, there was this Slow Climate Coalition, or sorry if I'm detracting. I'm just curious what is happening on a larger scale in San Luis Obispo County.
So we are, so we work with cities and counties. And so what they do with our site is different than the Episcopal Church program. What they do with our site is they put branding on our site geographically. So if you live in SLO County, now you're going to see the SLO County program that MCC is running. So we work with them to help encourage engagement. So what the Micro Community Collaborative is going to do is use our site to run programs to try and get groups like yours in the community to use the site. So it's more with cities and counties, it's more about engagement. That's separate from organization programs like the Episcopal Church. If that makes sense.
Yes, so that, does that mean, yes, so who in San Luis Obispo is trying to get people, excuse me, to form groups like Rotary clubs?
Yeah, it's called the Micro Community Collaborative. So the city of San Luis Obispo is given the Micro Community Collaborative. It's a local nonprofit that's working on climate in SLO County. They have given them a grant to do engagement with residents. And so they chose to use our site to help them do engagement with residents throughout the San Luis Obispo County region.
So they're doing it. So Dawn, have you engaged with the Micro Community Collaborative at all?
Well, that's Kelly Fisher, who's been connecting with us through the Slow Climate Coalition. And she's the one that I think is the intermediary with Jack for his engagement around this. So yeah, we're connecting through that, but I think you have a good question, which is, do we try to create a Rotary, multiple Rotary club effort, and maybe have some friendly competition in achieving results across those clubs or
Yeah.
collectively, because Rotary has this as a major point of focus, or do we, embed ourselves in the among the other organizations in San Luis Obispo County that are participating in this application. So there's a couple different ways we can go. I don't know, are they mutually exclusive? Do we have to sort of pick one way or another, or can you
No.
play in multiple ponds?
No, so we would be incredibly excited to put up a Rotary page like we did for the Episcopal Church so that you all can get more Rotary clubs engaged on this. But that's not a free service. We do have to have some compensation for that because it's a custom program and we work closely with you to be effective and successful. So they're not mutually exclusive, but right now you can use our free site. And I know that the Micro Community Collaborative, which is now tasked with engaging residents across SLO County, I know that they're going to be looking for ambassadors. They're going to be looking for leaders in the community that will help spread the word and get other networks, community groups and networks on board. So the engagement is going to be very much what has been really shown to be effective, which is engaging existing groups. So they're going to be looking to connect with service groups and clubs and schools and faith communities and encourage them to come together as a community and work through the information on the site and take action.
Okay,
So we could be inspiring to, as a Rotary Club, to other service organizations in our community
right.
by our example, and that could be then helpful for the SLO County overall accomplishing its objectives.
Yes.
And then if
Exactly.
we wanted to stimulate other Rotary clubs to do things, then we'd go off and, have you do a page where you would accumulate all the Rotary Club information onto that page, just like you've done for all the Episcopal churches that are participating.
Yes.
Don, have you started a group for our Rotary Club?
No, not yet. I wanted to expose this to you all and have you provide some feedback about, get your questions answered and see if this is something that you personally would like to do, and if it's something that you think would catch fire with our club, and then we'll initiate from there. I have opened an account through our Episcopal Church, St. Benedict's in Los Osos, that is part of the Episcopal Church network that's using BrightAction. So I have used the app in that way, but I haven't gone ahead and created, a Rotary Day Tolosa community group because I was eager to see what my Rotarian friends think.
Well, I'm all in.
Good.
And I have an account. And like Chris mentioned early on, I think it's super important that, we all find ways that we can individually take action, because like you said, everybody is different. Everybody's home and uses are different. I think our challenge is, before we even look at spreading it to other clubs and other groups, is getting our feet wet ourselves and getting a whole bunch of our members comfortable with it and taking action and doing things and getting excited about it. I think we have to take, one step at a time, but I would love to see us get our members excited about it.
Yeah, I'd second that, Don. I mean, I think we ought to start a group, which is our Rotary Club Day Tolosa. I mean, let's start there, because if other clubs want to do that too, at some point, we can talk to Lisa about creating a Rotary page where we can compare the clubs. But if we don't start, then who's going to start?
I agree with that.
Okay. Ron, do you have a read on this for yourself?
Yeah, I agree with both Brian and Chris. I don't really have anything much to add. I'm totally in support of it. Yeah.
And Jeff, how
I am
about
too.
you and John?
I am too. I set it up while we were talking, going through it. So I've got my account set up, and I'm intrigued by the weather-based irrigation control system. So I have to go find out what that is and how one does that. Other than me going out and turning it off when I know it's going to rain.
You're the manual weather-based irrigation control system. So that action is going to save water. It won't save carbon but that's okay. So just so you know, so we track anytime anyone completes an action on our site, we track 8 different data points. So we know, are you reducing water, energy, what type of energy, carbon? So there's lots of data. And in the water section, it's only the hot water actions that have an impact on climate.
Okay.
Yeah, Brian.
Lisa, thank you so much for taking your time to do this for us. And
Sure.
when we spoke the other day, I didn't realize you were the CEO. So it's really nice for all of us to go direct right to the top. But what I feel like we need help with, I think the site's super cool and we could make it work. Are there any inside scoops or secrets to help us get our membership fired up about it? I think that's going to be our big task, is getting lots of people involved.
Yeah, well, so what we talked about this a little bit the other day, and I think that if you all do it with your team and then bring it to your regular full club meetings in short snippets, like if you have, once a month or something, if you have a few minutes of your meeting that's dedicated to this, and maybe one person can share something that they've done, like an action they've done, and they can talk about it. And then you can give some highlights, like once a month on, how much more have we reduced this month, or what, or maybe give a little information on a particular topic. We have some topic videos that we're doing right now that are about 5 to 7 minutes long, where once a month, maybe you can play a video that talks about reducing your transportation impact or your home energy use impact. So you could maybe just fit it into your full group meetings in a way that is interesting, informative, and provides people to hear from others that are taking action, and then also can give like a report on what the updates are in terms of reductions.
It seems to make sense to have our committee sort of do this as a team first, so that we can sort of figure out what's involved, how much time it takes, et cetera, what we learn. And then, we'll sort of know some of the pitfalls, I guess, and some of the solutions, and then take it to the larger club after that.
Yeah, that completely makes sense.
Lisa, did I understand correctly that we start a group, which is our Rotary Club, and can we produce reports that, for instance, that we could show at a meeting, which shows the aggregate of what we're doing?
Yep.
I mean, we might or might not publish the names, but at least in the aggregate, we could say, hey, look, we've done this. We've got 10 members or however many, because that would be what I'd like to put up at the meeting.
Yeah, so this is your page on the site. So you have to be logged in to see it, but this would be your group's page, and you can put your own photo up here. You can put a welcome message. They haven't done that, but you can put a welcome message up there, and then you could take a screenshot of this and throw it up on a slide. It's really easy. So you don't have to show the names, but you could certainly do a screenshot of this and show how many actions folks have taken easily. So that's very ezy to do.
I guess my question was whether do we have to purchase custom programming to do that, or is that just, we don't? Okay, fine.
No, that's all. It's all free. The only thing that costs anything is if you want that custom page for Rotary where you track multiple groups.
Yeah, okay, fine.
That's the only thing that we charge for. Everything else is free.
And guys, I've got a scoop. I've got another thing. So
All right. So John Seaman, I know we haven't had a chance to hear from you. Thanks for joining us, Chris. John, did you have a comment that you wanted to share? Are you
No,
in or?
Yes, the approach sounds good. Now, to get our act together before we become too evangelical with this, you know, that sounds real good. I have a question for Lisa. What's the climate action now? Is that part of Bright, part of your group?
You mean the RCAT network that Terry mentioned?
I'm seeing. I signed up something on climate action now a while back, and I thought that was BrightAction.
No, that's not us.
No, that's the Rotary Climate Action Team Network that we heard
Okay.
about from John Mathers, and that's the collection of 400 plus Rotary clubs that are making a major emphasis on climate action. And that's a vehicle for sharing those different activities. That organization has encouraged the Rotary clubs to use this particular app because it's the most robust one to enable you to actually track results and actually have this differentiated way of identifying, you know, what's going to make the most sense for your household. And that was frankly, before I joined Rotary, was the same conclusion I came to when I was looking around for carbon footprint technology. So I think it's a good approach. I think what you're all suggesting makes a tremendous sense for how we roll this out. And I think, you know, if the 7 of us here from the club, you know, each, and I think John Walsh would be in on this because he's really interested in it. If we each took, each signed up and did some things, you know, the 7 of us, if we went each to a different table on a Rotary Club meeting, we could take a few minutes to share with people in the table level, you know, what we're, some things that we're doing, just to kind of introduce it in a, you know, a soft introduction to people. Just say, hey, I'm doing this, we're trying it out, you know, so on and so forth. I'm working with the program committee, and my suggestion, although I really value input from all of you about this, is that, you know, in a month out or something like that, if you feel like that would give you enough time to get up and, you know, get enrolled and maybe do a thing or two. I know the holidays are here, but, you know, maybe if we had Lisa come back as one of our speakers in February, and she took that, you know, 20-minute presentation, half-hour total with questions kind of opportunity, she could kind of roll it out a little bit broader, and we could start then to, you know, help move that along. Or we could have it be a presentation from one of the climate action team members about, hey, this is what we've done, here's how it's going, that sort of stuff. And we could just sort of take it on ourselves and saying, you know, here's Jack, he's joining us for lunch, and he's back in the back of the room, and, you know, if you have any questions about this, he's got his laptop open, and he'll sign you up, you know, while you're having lunch. You know, I mean, there's a lot of different ways we can do this to kind of work with how our members work, you know.
So just one thing really quickly, because I know it's getting late and you probably have other stuff to talk about. I think it'd be really good for, as many of you have said, to try it out yourself before you launch it with the full group. And I think we have a bunch of videos that we're working on right now that we're going to be adding to the site. And one of those videos will be just kind of the introduction that I did. So you may not need me. I mean, you may be able to just use a video that we created that kind of just introduces the site and talk about what you all are doing, because that's going to be, I think people really respond when that someone that they know is talking about an action that they take. It's very, it just really, it has a much stronger response than me talking about it. So after, you know, next year, we'll have some videos we can send you that will help you introduce it. I'm still happy to come if you want. But the other thing too, that we often find is it helps people to focus on one topic at a time. So maybe, you know, 1 month you just talk about transportation and really create an opportunity for people to actually talk with each other about it, because that's where a lot of the power comes from, is if you have time at, your meeting or at a Rotary Club general meeting, and the activity is for everybody to talk about the actions in the transportation section for 10 minutes with their table at lunch. That is really powerful, because you'll get people talking about the actions that they're thinking of taking. And maybe there's like someone who's like, yeah, I don't know, I keep hearing about EVs, but I'm not sure. And someone else like, I just got one, it's fantastic, do you want to come with me and take a test drive? And then it's like, by the end of that 10 minutes, you've got someone that's actually now, okay, maybe I can go check this out. So making time for those conversations is really powerful. So I think figuring out a way to work in a way for people just to chat about the actions is really highly recommended.
And it sounds fun.
I'm kind of wondering if there's a way to quantify the difference that each person can make, or then of course the aggregate of the whole club. Like while we've been talking, like I said, I've been doing it, and so I have 1,300 points. It's a 2% CO2 reduction. Now, it's 2% off of whatever my total was calculated to be by this program, I guess. How do we really make a difference, or does that matter? Because hey, if all of us are pitching in at least a little bit, then we're helping the
Bless you. So here on your own household, this is for your own household. This will tell you how much you've reduced. So if you completed your questions like you did, then we know where you started and we know how much you've reduced. So this is where you can track your carbon reductions for your household, because you can get points for things that are not necessarily carbon related. You can get points for a water action where there's no carbon impact. So this is where you can really track your carbon impact here. But on your group page, you can see how many tons of metric tons of carbon dioxide equivalent you've reduced as a group. So you can track that. It's right there. You can also see your kilowatt hours and therms and water and gas saved as well in dollars. But you can see cumulatively for your group your carbon impact.
It's powerful.
Yeah, my back of the envelope calculations are that if we on average reduced our greenhouse gas emissions by 15%, some people may be able to do more, other people may do less. When I've chatted with Lisa about this, I don't know how I'm going to get this down all that way. And then she gives me like 3 ideas and how I can go to net zero. But if we could reduce collectively our greenhouse gas emissions by about 15%, and we do the planted forward tree planting effort, to offset the emissions that we're not reducing, and we jazz up the soil health with those mycorrhizal fungi, so that they're sequestering more carbon more efficiently. My back of the envelope calculation is we could be a net carbon neutral club, and we could then really be in close alignment with the city of SLO's objectives to be net carbon neutral. And I think we'd be out there as leaders. And it's kind of interesting to me because through the SLO Climate Coalition that we spoke to last month, and Brian and Jeff have been helpful with that, and others of you have dropped in from time to time at those meetings. People are paying attention to what we're doing. Cal Poly came to us and said, oh, we have this grant opportunity to get fellows that is funding for students to work with community groups like yours to help climate action things happen. And I thought to myself, wow, wouldn't that be great? Because our members are busy, that we could leverage their time better, by having students do some things to help us get more results for our leadership and our volunteer labor, and wouldn't that be neat? So there's kind of this magnetic effect that we can be having by getting out there and doing stuff, which is what Rotary's great at.
And honestly, as Terry mentioned, I did a presentation for the Rotary Climate Action Network, which is, I guess, now 400 clubs.
Yeah, 421 or so, yeah.
It's a lot. And we offered to create a Rotary specific like engagement program where it's like Rotary branded, you know, with steps. And so no club has stepped up and said they would be willing to work with us to co-create that. So if you all can come up with like, okay, how do you launch this at your club? What steps do you take that really work with Rotary? Like what format? Because every group is different. So what's going to work for a Rotary club is not necessarily what's going to work for a faith community or a school. So would be amazing if you all want to help us learn how could we create like a custom engagement pathway for Rotary clubs, and then spread that out along the RCAT network and try and get some more clubs involved.
That's a good point. One of the reasons the RCAT network didn't take it on is because managing it, we didn't really have, you know, the management capability within the leadership group of the RCAT network to say as an individual. But if a club wanted to take on the project, because it was not expensive with Lisa's group to at least test drive this on a regional or state levels, it really, correct me if I'm wrong, Lisa, but it really its pricing is based on how many people that you think you're going to have.
Yeah, I mean, we were willing to start off with a low price just to kind of kick it off and get it going. But so I'm actually really surprised, and to hear you say that, Terry, I didn't realize that was part of the decision making, because there is no management required. That's the whole point.
There kind of is, in the sense that it'd be really, I mean, we're trying to promote a distributed network. So being the point person in charge of doing this, it really, we're hoping that people would be inspired with the presentation to say they want to do this and engaged. And it'd be nice to have a club that had a, you know, committed group of people that was a focal point. So the RCAT network, it's not to say we won't, but funding is always a challenge. So we now have some money in our budget, and I can revisit it with John and the group, but it'd be nice if there was, but the whole promoting of it also. So, I mean,
So
it's only going to be as big as but promoting it through the network is important, but participation too. So we should, I think there's no reason not to take it on, but this is, I don't know how many other Rotary clubs you know of that have actually formed a group.
So I really want to make sure, because this is really important, that it's clear. So when we do a program like that, when we do a custom program and we create a page,
yes,
for a group, what we do along with that page is we create a custom engagement program so that it doesn't require any management. You don't have to do anything. We create
right, except that somebody needs to work with you to set up that page, what's going to be on that landing page, manage it, add content to that landing page, you know, so that it keeps, you know.
So it's, no, it's not.
There has to be, well, I think it sounds like the Episcopal Church, there's somebody you worked with to form that initial landing page.
Right.
No, and that might be if we get one of these Cal Poly, a couple of these Cal Poly fellows, maybe one person, you know, for their 450 hours in the year, that's like a day a week. You know, they run around and make that happen, you know, leveraging our time so that we don't have to have a member, you know, managing something beyond their business, you know, but yet contributing to their leadership. I understand, Lisa, what you're saying, but I think what Terry's highlighting is the reality, which is you put something like this together and people have questions, and then you have things to respond to. It's not a you know, automatic. And I think I can appreciate that just from what we do to keep our climate action team together. So there's a happy medium here that we can follow.
Well, okay. So I mean, I think that sometimes it's not always clear, but the page takes like 2 hours to set up and it doesn't require any maintenance. So I just want to make sure that there was no confusion around what it is that.
Yeah, no, it's not really on your side. It's really kind of refreshing, keeping top of mind with other Rotary clubs, answering their questions. You know, you start to get into some other things that are just organizational in nature, not app specific.
No, it's not, your program is not the barrier.
Right. Yeah.
Potentially doing something.
So anybody have any other questions for Lisa? I did want to make sure that we got a quick report on when our next planting is happening, and next, I guess we got the bioreactor report at the start. But just before we finish that, and I know we're past the hour here. Anybody have any other questions or comments to Lisa?
Yeah, I'm sorry, not to Lisa, I just have an announcement,
Okay.
so.
Who would, is there somebody who would like to set up our group on the BrightAction app? If nobody else will, I'll set it up, and or you want to take it on, Brian?
Sure.
Okay, great.
I'm excited about it.
All right, good.
Yeah.
Yeah, so just grab our logo off and put it on the page, you know, for our group, and you know, the Rotary de Tolosa logo off of our Club Runner website. You can just set it up and get it cooking, and the rest of us will affiliate with the group.
Okay.
Just send around an email when you've done it, so we know, you know, when to connect our accounts to that account,
Okay.
that group rather.
Okay.
Just so you know, after you create the group page, just click on that custom link, that you have at the top of the group. There's that button, and you'll get that link. Send a link to everybody,
Okay.
and then click on that link when you create your account, and you'll be part of the group. And Don, you can only be in one group, so if you're in the Episcopal group, you're going to have to leave that group to join the Rotary group.
Okay, I can do that.
Okay. All right. But please feel free to reach out with questions. That's what we're here for. Jack and I both would be happy to answer questions. And if you want to come back in your next meeting and see how it goes, we can pop in and be available to answer questions.
Sounds good. Yeah, Jack, we'll be looking to connect with you on this. And, if you're available Wednesdays at noon to have lunch with us and have your laptop, that might be a real good way when we get into January or whatever, to help people with questions, or just, show the flag there and get people talking and thinking about what's happening.
It's on.
Thank you, Lisa.
Awesome.
Do you think that would work, Jack?
Sorry.
Sorry, my Wi-Fi just cut out, but I am back now.
Okay. Is like a Wednesdays at noon a good time for you? You want to have lunch? And meet folks and help them get up and going, and
yeah, it just depends on how often that might be, but
yeah.
I'm sure we can work that out.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, I think we got to start here. So before we close up shop here, a quick report about the next planting.
John, do you want to talk about that?
Go ahead, Brian.
Okay, tree planting committee met last week, and we're moving forward, shooting for January 22nd for planting 40 trees at the South Hills Trailhead. Everything's in the works. We're buying all the materials that we need. Our little acorn seedlings are growing as we speak. And we'll be sending out a message to the club soon, a sign up message to get people signed up to help that day. Yeah, and John's been working closely with the group at the city to coordinate their end of it. So that's our date, January 22nd, weather depending, and seedlings being ready dependent. But if anybody has, the one thing we're lacking that I would really like to add in, if anybody has any ideas how we can loop in some young people to help us out. We want to try to involve some youth, and so far we're kind of dragging our feet on that part of it. So
Brian, I can ask Bo Mercurio. He's our youth coordinator in Passport. If he's got some ideas
Okay.
about looking, I don't know if that's what you're thinking of or not.
No, that would be good and helpful. And on my list is to ask our youth coordinator also, but the hiccup there is that the Rotaract clubs locally, I think, dissolved during COVID. So
Yes.
kind of lost our group there, but
Yeah, there's an opportunity, the Slow City Farm, and we should coordinate because we should get some mycorrhizal fungi to inoculate the seedlings when you plant them from them, and they've offered to do that with us, you know, on sort of this exchange program with our bioreactors. They happen to have some fungi left, but they also do a lot of youth outreach, and they may have some ideas about ways to connect with groups that we could, you know, pursue.
do you know the person I would contact there, Dawn?
Yeah, Shane is the farm manager and Kayla is the executive director, and I can whoever's leading this up, I can shoot you the connections.
Yeah,
Who
if
would
you
that
could-
be?
That would be me.
Okay. All right, I'll make a note. So youth and fungi from City Farm to Brian. Yeah, that's a great story, you know,
Yeah.
for kids to learn about.
Yeah, and so hopefully in the future, we've been talking about wrapping kids into the program earlier, where they could be involved in germinating the seedlings all the way through planting and watering and you know, and I'm thinking maybe, you know, grade school kids or junior high, but that's all kind of, we've been chatting about that, but haven't pulled the trigger on anything yet.
Yeah, okay, well, I'll get you some connections with the city farms. That's the sort of age groups that they tend to work with.
Okay, awesome. Thank you.
Yeah, and if there's anybody from Cal Poly you can draw over from, because you're doing you're planting, you're germinating the acorns there, right?
No, a private citizen, Tom, I can never remember his last name, Camp.
Okay. Got it.
He volunteered and is giving us free seedlings, so we don't have to buy any oak trees in gallons. So, and he's been really helpful in teaching us and giving us advice on how to plant and care for trees. Oh, here's another big thing that came up. I wanted to get everybody's take or opinion or thoughts on, and this Dawn's idea was tagging trees with grandkids or children's or grandkids' names. You know, at Berry's Grove, we put members' names on trees. But going forward, we could, you know, have kids and grandkids' names tagged on trees. The idea came up about selling those trees so that if you wanted to buy a tag with your grandkid's name on it, you would quote unquote donate $100 for that privilege.
Okay. Well, that sounds like a good idea.
Well, and it would be a way to, you know, raise some money, and we could maybe create a tree planting fund for future years when, if we, you know, needed more budget dollars. But that came up last meeting, so I was kind of curious what other people thought of that and how we, you know, present that to the club and how it would go over and be accepted or whatever.
Okay, any feedback to Brian about that? Or,
I think it's a great idea. And the only problem I can think of is not, maybe it's not a problem, is that maybe if we're planting 40 trees, there may be 41 or more people who would like to do so, but there aren't enough trees for the number of people in our club. I mean, we have 100% of the people in the club want to do it, but we could have more than 40.
well, this is just your first planting of the new year, right?
There
Right.
you go.
That's right.
I mean, Brian's aspiring to 100 trees a year for 10 years.
We're gonna need a
So-
population boom to, sell all of them.
Yeah, I think it's a great idea.
But yeah, I'm curious, Ron, you always have great insight. What do you think of that?
I think it's a great idea. I definitely think you should do it. Are you anticipating any negative, pushback from the board, or? I mean, this is for our club, right? I mean,
Right.
yeah. And yeah, I don't know. I mean, I guess if you, I'm not suggesting this, but maybe you raise the price and then you don't get 41. I don't know.
Right.
Auction them off.
Well, that was the other, yeah, and we could have all kinds of fun with it. It could be auctioned off.
Well, if you did 100 trees a year at $100 a tree, that's $10,000 you're raising.
Wow,
The
that's a lot of dough.
the only drawback that I expressed with this was that one of the things that required a lot of extra work at Berry's Grove was replacing trees that had died. We anticipate on these 40 trees we're planting to have an 80% success rate. So that means 20% of the trees will probably fall on the wayside. And so we'd have to set up a program for replanting or doing something like that, because they don't want the grandkids' tree dying on us,
And we don't give refunds.
Maybe, or maybe we don't assign them a tree until next year or something. They contribute now, and then next year they get.
Or we just plant 20% extra unassigned trees. And then if something gets lost, the tag moves from the tree that didn't make it over to a tree that is cooking.
Find a way to deal with it. Sounds good.
Yeah. But
Well,
yeah,
if
I think we
we-
could overcome that by planting extras, like Don said, or like John, wait a year or whatever.
Whether we plant extras or whether we auction these off for any price at all, if we plant 40 trees and some number of them die, wouldn't our intent be to replace them anyway, no matter what?
No,
Yeah, that's easy enough. Yeah.
that is not Tom's intent.
No?
Who's been doing this for many years. He accepts a 20% loss. He expects it.
That was true. That was true of the city's original thought with Berry's Grove too. I mean, they didn't anticipate, but Steve Johnson was just intent that they were all going to survive.
Same
so
idea.
he made it happen.
Yeah, if we have to go to the nursery and buy some 1-gallon oak trees, we'll do it.
We should have the money to buy a couple extras. If we get $100 a tree to replace them.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, so there are three, right? There are three good suggestions of how to overcome that. So we could do that in some way or another. It is a concern, John, and I agree, but yeah, so we have to figure out how to deal with that.
Sounds good.
Hey, sounds great. Anything else for the good of the cause?
Brian, I'll just mention, I don't think you're going to be short of volunteers. It sounds like a very popular club project, but if you are, or if you need to throw out other naming opportunities, let me know and I'll put it in front of the Passport Club. But Don, I was hoping that have you gotten the invitation to sign up for the RCAT, the COP26 panel?
Yes.
And
it's
maybe you
next
can
week.
shoot that to all of your groups. That's the 16th. That should be very interesting to hear what some of the COP26 Rotary attendees, Rotary sent some people to COP26.
Yeah.
Let's get
Okay.
a review of that.
I'll get that around.
Okay, thanks.
That's a Zoom call. All right. Well,
Thank you.
anybody else have any questions or anything you'd like to add in? Really appreciate all your participation.
We're waiting in the wings to hear from EcoSlow on the 15-gallon plantings.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, I think they're doing one. At St. Benedict's on January 29th. They're doing 14 trees as part of the 30 tree total. So if you move the 22nd date around, don't have it cross over with the 29th because there'll be probably some same interest in between the 22nd and the 29th. Picking, you don't have to change your date of the 22nd. Hey, great. Sounds good. Wonderful to catch up with all of you.
Thank
Thank you,
you,
Don.
Don.
Thank you, Don.
Thanks
Good
all
job,
for
Don.
your interest.
Thank
Have
you
a
so
great
much.
day.
Okay, see you, everybody.
Planted forward.
That's right. There you go.